Good evening, everybody. It's Monday at 9:30 on the East Coast, 6:30 on the West Coast. It's time for your weekly Calamity Jane live stream. James, how are you doing?
Doing well. That was the most smoothest, almost radio disc jockey version of your opening that I've ever heard. I think that's your best one. You can't
Really?
really top.
Okay, I'm
You
gonna
can't
have
top that
to.
one.
I'll have to clip that one and we'll save it for
Yeah,
the archives or something.
yeah. And then you can just autoplay it, then sort of just lip sync over it as you start to say it. But like it doesn't get much smoother than that.
Are you
It
ready
doesn't
for some smooth
smooth.
jazz?
Yeah, that's kind of. It was pretty good. Yeah, I was impressed. So yeah, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm hanging in there, hanging in there. I did a play not too long ago. Recorded a bunch of footage for a play that we live streamed, but there was like a bug in the audio, and so we decided to just pre-record it and edit together like a movie a little bit. Actually, like we have a few cuts and things of that nature. So I've been hard at work editing that, and it's been a joy. I love editing.
Cool, cool.
So
And
yeah.
so are you pretty much wrapped up then, or are you still doing
Well,
stuff?
the photography was wrapped, right. Now it's all in post production, and that largely
Mhm.
falls to me because I'm the editor and the audio guy and the special effects guy, such that there are any, which there aren't, um, and titles guy and that kind of stuff. So I'm right
Okay.
now I'm knee deep in sequences and clips and sound effects and video transitions and cross dissolves and all of the good stuff. And I love Premiere. I love editing. I don't know. There's just something. There is a joy that I get from editing. I can't even explain it.
Yeah, no, it is. It's fun. It's also it's kind of cool in when you're editing mode because then you're kind of towards the last, well, quote unquote, last end of the journey where you're that much closer to getting it all done. So it's fun to see it
Hmm.
all kind of come together and ending up loose ends and stuff.
Yeah, and it's really fun to see the the pieces come together and become like
A
a
full.
meaningful whole. Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. The only downside is while you're editing, that's the point where you're going, oh, I really wish I got that shot. Oh, that looks
Uh,
ugly. Oh, you know.
you going through the woulda, shoulda, coulda
Yeah,
moments.
and the other thing too is like you're never too close to a project until you start editing, right?
Mhm.
Like I've been editing this for a couple of weeks now, and I've gotten pieces together, and I've been sending them out to the team to see the progress on it. Um, and I'm like, oh, they're gonna complain about that. Oh, they're gonna have a problem with this, and the only response is like, this is amazing. And it's just like, oh, maybe I'm a little bit too close to this because like you're literally getting in there and going, okay, if I start the music on this frame, literally this frame, is it too soon, right?
Yeah.
Like you're
Mhm.
literally splitting hairs,
Yeah.
but the interesting thing is it matters. Like it
Yeah.
actually
Sure.
matters down to the frame in some
Yeah.
instances.
Yeah.
Um, and it's just yeah, it's super fun. I love editing. I love it's like putting together a puzzle, but
Mhm.
a really cool puzzle that when it's done, instead of a dumb picture of a covered bridge, it's a it's a really really nice little piece that you've got there.
So where would you say you're at? You're about 90% done, 85%.
I'm personally, the our thing was three short sketches with a wrapper kind of holding it all together. Or no,
Oh,
it's
okay.
four sketches with a wrapper holding it all together.
Okay.
And I'm editing the wrapper piece and three of the plays. So
Okay.
I've at this point put together the rough footage. It's all like roughly edited,
Hmm.
and you can
Hmm.
watch it beginning to end.
Yeah.
Um, and now I'm going in and putting in the fine touches, like layering in some of the color correction stuff, adding tints here and there, putting in ambience audio, layering in the sound effects,
Hmm.
cleaning up some of the visuals. And I've done that with two of the three plays that I'm working on, and I haven't touched the third sketch or the wrapper stuff yet. So
Gotcha.
I'd say I'm about like 60% of the way through.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah,
Well,
but
cool.
it's making progress.
Nice. Well, congrats on that.
Yeah,
That's cool.
and at the end it'll be like the longest thing I've ever put together at over an hour in length, about
Oh,
an
geez.
hour and 5 hour and 10 minutes.
Cool.
Yeah,
Cool.
so it's pretty
Well,
exciting.
if you get to a point where it gets posted or it goes on YouTube, make sure we get a link of some
Yeah,
sort.
we'll definitely once it's done, it will be posted on YouTube. Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
that's the plan. That is the plan.
cool.
Um,
Oh,
but
let's
yeah,
see.
so that was what I'm doing. What are we talking about tonight?
Well, I mean, it's not going to be as exciting for you about as in regards to editing, but we're going to be working on more Mayor stuff tonight. Doing
Ooh,
his mouth. I'm going to actually set up his mouth pack tonight.
okay, great.
So,
My friend, the voice of Mayor McFlint, is actually coming into town. He's in town right now, and I'm gonna hang out with him on Wednesday, and I'm gonna show him.
that's
If you
funny.
wouldn't mind sending me like a nice high res image of the character, I'd love to show it to him.
Yeah, okay, definitely will. So I'll go into share screen and I'll start doing it. Aha!
Oh no! Did it happen? Oh my god!
Yeah,
Wow! There it
yeah, that's
is.
that. I caught you.
You
I got
did.
you on that.
Wow! It's been a while, but it came back.
Well, the thing was, I distracted you by asking you about the editing thing, and you were so excited about
I
it.
was. I was just. It was
It was a
just.
shiny object in the room.
I do love shiny objects.
So, um, but all good. It all works still. I mean, well, here we are. I'm assuming I'm broadcasting on my side here, showing
Mm-hmm.
stuff.
Yes, you are. You're coming through loud and clear.
Okay. So I don't know if we've touched on this on our live stream or not, but we actually have Calamity Jane already set up for mouth tack. So I'm going to kind of be using this is simply a symbolic reference point
Mm-hmm.
to make the same type of mouths that I want to do for the mayor.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got the closed mouth, which is just your M sound. Then you've got your, kind of like your A, all the way out to say A. And then we got the S or the T sound, the F, the
Mm-hmm.
the F sound, and the U sound. So I mean,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
those are pretty much what you need for any mouth pack. And there's also an L sound, which is here for her.
Yeah.
Um, and then if I get lucky, maybe I'll get into a blink as well for him. I'm not sure which way I'm going to go first, but anyways, this is a general template I'm going to be following for Mayor.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll go in and I'll start doing that for him. And of course, it's going to be a little bit different because he's a different character altogether, and I'm going to have to play with that a little bit. But
Well, this is.
yeah,
Can I? And maybe this is a little bit too on the nose, but I almost want to do. He's got such a great mustache.
uh huh,
Um, have you thought about maybe pulling a Yosemite Sam and
yep.
just? Okay. Okay.
You read my mind. He's going to have his mustache is going to be his upper lip, pretty
Okay.
much.
Okay.
Yeah, he'll you won't even see. Yeah, the mustache will be pretty much forming the upper part of his mouth and everything else. So we'll get there too. But yeah, but Yosemite Sam's right, exactly what I was thinking too.
Good.
It'll be a lot more subtle. Like if you look at Clowny's mouth,
Yeah.
her mouth is pretty elastic.
Yeah. Right.
But Mayor's gonna be a little more understated. There will be some movement, but not nearly as much compared to Calamity.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm just doing setup for his face setup right now. Some people will call this a rig. I just call it setup because I always equate rig with like 3D and putting bones in and rigging something, and I'm just being very literal about it. But
Hey, I mean, it's just us right now. When we have a team of 1,000 animators doing our
yeah,
bidding, then we'll have to
yeah,
come up with naming conventions and terms and
yeah,
things of that
sure.
nature. But until
Yeah.
then, you can
Until
call it
then,
whatever you want, James, because I'm not going to be doing any of it. So you only have to report to yourself.
As you can see, I'm actually using a naming convention as I make this. It's just by default from just learning in studio land.
Mm-hmm.
So M for mayor, and then I just call it whatever I want after that. So it'll show up in the library that way with the M name, and that way
Mm-hmm.
it's organized. And same with Calamity. I think I did this with Calamity too.
KJ, yeah.
KJ, yep. So yeah, so I'm just gonna keep going with this for a little bit.
So I went back and I revisited a game from 2017.
you were telling us the pre-stream. You were telling me about it. It was
Yeah.
Monster Hunter Stories. Is that right?
Stories, yeah. Capcom took the Monster Hunter brand and made a
Hmm.
Pokemon clone out of it.
So, is it follow the same model like Pokemon Silver or something, or you just say general Pokemon clone?
I think it doesn't like you build teams of 6 monsters,
Okay.
but your character is actually in the battlefield with the monster as opposed to just I don't know, courier of monsters, which is how
Uh
it
huh.
is in Pokemon.
Uh huh.
But you can switch them out at any time without any cost. And instead of like game over when you lose all 6 monsters, you get a 3 life system, which is similar to the main franchise games where um, you if you cart 3 times, you lose the quest.
Uh huh.
But yeah, you go around and you collect monsters, and they don't really. I mean, like they walk around in the wild, but the way you get them is you find dens in the game, and you go into the dens, explore
Yeah.
the dens, find the nest egg, steal an egg, and then hatch the egg to get the monster. So it's a slightly different process um, than the way Pokemon works. But all the monsters have their own abilities, and they gain a few abilities as by leveling up. But you can also like I don't know steal the DNA of one monster and give it to a different monster. It's very weird and it involves magic, and it's really not a good idea to think about it too hard. But it's fun. Um, so yeah, I had
So,
gotten about halfway through it back in 2017, and the sequel's coming out in July, and I thought, wow, I should probably go finish that game.
so, with Pokemon, it's I've always considered Pokemon pretty much a really fancy rock paper scissors type of
Mm-hmm.
mechanic. You got to figure out which monsters, more does more damage against another. Does it sounds like with Monster Hunter doesn't have that same feel, or does it?
It's, I mean, like it's not as so there is literally a rock paper scissors element to the battles. You can do a technical attack, a power attack, and a speed
Okay,
attack, and it's a
so
wheel of strengths. But those are
so
just
certain. So wait, let me just ask you
yeah.
this then. So certain monsters are more immune to a powerful attack versus a speed attack or whatever.
No, no, those are
Oh,
just the basic attacks, and the way those come into play is that when the attack, if you because there's 4 characters on the screen at a time, if one of your enemies targets one of your characters,
hmm
if they'll do like a matchup, right? And so like if you do a speed attack and the enemy is doing a power attack,
hmm
the speed attack overtakes the power attack and actually nullifies their attack entirely, right?
okay.
So being able to predict what type of basic attack is going to be used can be, to your advantage. The real like the Monster Hunter otherwise uh, works the same as it does in the main games, where different monsters are um, more susceptible to uh, attacks than other monsters. So, like a Barioth is got an ice type attack that's really good against, I don't know, like an Agnactor, which is a monster that lives in lava, right?
Okay.
And so um, it's basic elemental type damage, but it's not really rock paper scissors because it's not like it's not out. You can't plot it on a grid as literally as you can Pokemon.
Okay.
So to that end, it's whatever basic elemental strengths and weaknesses like any other JRPG.
Okay.
So, um, but it is fun and it's pretty impressive how crammed into the game. I mean, there's tons of different monsters and they all have their own unique abilities and it's a pretty big game world. Now I didn't, I like Pokemon. The real game starts after you beat the story,
hmm
um, and I'm because the new one's coming out in July. I didn't really pursue anything beyond just the storyline.
hmm
Um, but even still, it took me 40 hours to get through just the story. So
Hmm.
it was a
So
pretty good
it's
length.
yeah, that's a decent length for a game.
Mm-hmm.
So is the sequel that's coming out? Is it going to be the same? Is it picking up right where it left off with the first one? Do you think, or
Capcom's been relatively cagey about the storyline.
oh, okay,
I know that there are a few returning characters from the first game, but they're all sort of secondary support characters at this point, except for the really, really annoying big-headed cat, um, which unfortunately was my least favorite character in the first game. And
oh,
of
of
course, that
course,
character is coming back for the sequel.
yes,
But what are you gonna do?
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
he sort of is the mascot of the franchise. In fact, there was a series of Japan only amiibo, which are those action figures that I collect, um, uh, that were about Monster Hunter stories, and one of them was Naviru, which is the cat. And I usually love the cats in Monster Hunter, but I did not love this cat.
So this
Um,
particular cat has some sort of attitude or something, or what?
yeah, he's got a really annoying voice. He's really self-centered. He won't shut up. It's like Navi from Ocarina of Time.
See, I actually didn't mind Navi. Look, listen, all that
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. I mean, I didn't mind Navi as much as say, I think the internet minds Navi, but I certainly it did get a little annoying at times. But Navi's got nothing on Navi-Ru, that's for sure.
Okay, well, so sadly, this character is coming back to annoy you.
Yeah, and there's a couple other secondary characters, but no, the as far as I know, the storyline is completely unrelated to the first game. The world is the same, but
Mhm.
as far as I know, other than the basic scenario, I don't think there's anything related to the first game, at least that they've revealed.
So when you're saying world, though, the way where you need to catch the monsters though is in are in dens. You said right.
Yeah.
So the worlds are just places for you to go to a cave and then capture the monster.
Um, to a certain extent, yeah. I mean, the basic flow, without the monster capturing mechanics, it's just a pretty by the books, by the numbers JRPG.
Okay.
Um, it's not trying to revolutionize or reinvent the wheel. It's a turn-based combat system. There are towns. There's an overworld. You go between the towns by crossing the overworld. You fight monsters on the way,
Hmm.
and your mileage will vary on whether or not get any enjoyment out of that. I know some people hate JRPGs. I tend to like JRPGs. I don't usually beat them because I get distracted with other things.
Hmm.
Um, but I do enjoy them while they hold my attention. Or you do the standard JRPG thing where you just hit some. They decide to make things really difficult. You just hit a wall, and you're like, I don't feel like grinding for 10 hours to continue this story that I'm not invested in anyway.
Yeah, I'm conflicted with JRPGs because JRPGs are, my earliest, association with RPGs, and period,
Mm-hmm.
with Dragon Warrior and Final Fantasy. But the more I engage with JRPGs later on in life, the more I find them to be just these Odyssey type games where I don't know if I want to put the time in to play them. Like right now on my PS4, I have Final Fantasy VII Remake just sitting in my queue. Am I going to have time to play it? Just judging from what I've seen and what people are saying, it looks like another sweeping epic game that I could easily sink another 200 hours into, and I'm already playing Neo. That's taking all my time. I don't know if I
Yeah,
want to
I
deal
don't
with it.
know, and especially given that the remake is really only the first part of the original game, it's kind of disappointing because
Yeah.
the game ends when you get out of Midgar, and I'm like, wait, that was just the end of disc one. There's three discs in the original Final Fantasy VII, and the
Oh
Midgar
man.
sequence was just disc one. So now I know that like disc three was mostly cutscenes and the ending boss battle, but still, like less than half of the game is being called the remake of Final Fantasy VII. I was a little bit bummed when I heard about that, quite frankly.
Yeah.
Um,
You played the original, right?
I did. I never beat it, but I did play it pretty. Yeah, I mean, I got well into the second disc. That's for sure.
Um, would you consider it an all-time um, you know, one of the greatest RPGs of all time type of thing. That I mean, it always gets that rap where it's like
Yeah.
it's the greatest RPG ever, like type of thing. I get that a lot. I mean, again from the internet. I don't know I mean, I don't know. I can't comment on it because I've never played it, so I have no idea if it is really that good or.
I think that there is some nostalgia glasses being worn. I
Mhm.
think if you take it in the context of when it comes out, I think it's indisputable how important that game is. So many of the modern JRPG tropes that are used today kind of saw a lot of their origins in Final Fantasy VII. Not the least of which was sort of the you got a little bit of it in Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger, but it really went full bore with Final Fantasy VII, sort of rather than the uh, kind of vague Tolkien esque fantasy setting, the more sci-fi magic setting. Final
Mhm.
Fantasy VII really set the like it didn't originate it, but it really set the bar and set the standard for what that aesthetic looks like.
Mhm.
I think it, in terms of the, storytelling, such that it was without a doubt one of the most mature in terms of topics and complexity and degree of dimensionality of the characters and that kind of stuff. And again, you could argue that Final Fantasy VI did the same thing, but Final Fantasy VII, I don't know, there was just something way about the way it was presented that it struck a chord in a way that Final Fantasy VI didn't. And I think part of it has to do because of the CG cutscenes um, and the 3D graphics and that kind of stuff. It was different than sort of the sprite based universe of Final Fantasy VI. So the
So,
importance of Final Fantasy VII cannot be understated, in my opinion.
mm, so you do think it deserves some place in the echelon? I mean, in the hall of RPGs, it needs to have a spot
Oh,
because of one of the.
unequivocally, yeah,
Yeah.
unequivocally, yeah. I think Final Fantasy VII remake is a cash grab. I don't think anybody is going to be. I think when people think about Final Fantasy VII, they're still going to be thinking about the original and not the remake.
Uh-huh.
And it's not a commentary on the remake. I haven't played it, so it's hard for me to pass judgment on it. Only that I think that you can't capture lightning in a bottle in the same
Mm-hmm.
way. I just don't think
Mm-hmm.
it's possible. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think it's monumentally important. Just like I think Dragon Quest VIII is also like one of the greatest RPGs of all time, and it's actually one that I actually beat.
Yeah,
So
she said.
yeah,
She said,
I went all the way through Dragon Quest VIII. Yeah, yeah, it was great. I
um,
loved it, every moment of it.
I got confused about the Dragon Quest series because there was Dragon. I thought it was called Dragon Warrior back in the day, and then they
It
just
was.
switched it to Dragon Quest.
It
Is
was
that
always
because?
called Dragon Quest in Japan, but you remember in the early days of video games when Americans were afraid that American players were stupid or something? I don't know. That's the only thing
I
I can think of is like, oh, these kids are dumb.
okay.
And they thought that Dragon Quest didn't sound as exciting or as adventurous as Dragon Warrior. And so in the United States, they renamed it Dragon Warrior because they thought kids would find it more exciting.
Hmm.
But then Dragon Quest, Dragon Quest 4, 5, and 6 never came out in the States originally. And then they finally brought it back to the state in Dragon Quest 7 for the PlayStation 1. And by that point, it was like, why are we still calling this Dragon Warrior? It's not worth the money to repackage everything. And so they just went back to the original title because it had been so long since a Dragon Quest game had come out in the States anyway.
Okay. So they just went. Yeah, forget it. The American kids are smart
Yeah,
enough.
exactly. Yeah.
They've earned their way.
Yeah,
They
and
they've
so
earned.
from that point on, it's always just been Dragon Quest. But yeah,
Okay.
Dragon Quest 1 through 4, when it came out in the States, they were all labeled as Dragon Warrior.
Hmm.
Now, obviously, since they've gone back and remastered them and re-released them, it's, they've gone back and re-released them as Dragon Quest, but
Cool.
so, but yeah, I I totally lost the thread on where I was going. Oh yeah, Dragon Quest VIII being important in the pantheon of
Yeah,
JRPGs. Monster Hunter Stories will not be important in the pantheon of
it's
JRPGs.
a throwaway game.
I mean, it has a lot of Monster Hunter fan service. So, like, for someone like a nerd like me who loves Monster Hunter and who enjoys a JRPG every once in a while, it hits all the right buttons, right? Like capturing a Zenogre and forcing it to do your bidding and your team of monsties. Yeah, it hits all the right buttons. You get that nice little dopamine jolt, But for anybody who's looking for a revolutionary RPG property, it's not it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the last RPG that I actually sat down and played hardcore was probably Dragon Age Origins, which is, I guess, North American / Canadian, whatever you want to call it. I guess were they, yeah. I mean, were they based in Canada? I can't remember. BioWare.
BioWare's Edmonton. They're still there. Yeah.
Yeah. So I really enjoy that game. Actually, it kind of. I mean, I played Skyrim and I was just okay, but I really enjoyed the lore they set up for Dragon Age. Dragon Age Origins, but they missed the mark with all their sequels since then that I've
Yeah,
played.
I agree. So our viewer is letting us know, which I did know, by the way, viewer,
Oh, oh,
that
oh, oh.
the original Dragon Quest or Dragon Warrior was given away for free to
What?
subscribers of Nintendo Power Magazine. Yes.
I don't really.
Yes, yeah, the original was,
Wow.
and again, a little bit of addendum. It's because so Nintendo published the original Dragon Warrior in the United States. Enix, before they merged with Square Enix or SquareSoft and became Square Enix, was afraid that it wouldn't do the numbers that they wanted it to do, and so to try to seed the popularity a little bit, they partnered and. Nintendo published it in the States as well, not Enix. And so, Nintendo and Enix were afraid that it wasn't going to do the numbers they wanted to see. So to seed the popularity, they
Oh my
gave all the
gosh.
subscribers to Nintendo Power a free copy of the game.
At that point, how long was Nintendo Power out for? Like 2 years or
It
something like
was it
that.
was still very very new. Yeah, first or
Yeah.
second year. Yeah.
Because I remember I had a subscription to Nintendo Power. I did not get that game.
No,
Um,
it was like in the teens. It was
yeah,
really I don't remember the exact issue, but it was
that
very early.
explains it. Yeah.
Yeah, my Nintendo Power subscription started at issue 39, I believe, and
Yeah,
it
I was
had
there. I
Mario Paint on the cover.
See, if I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, viewer and you, Eric,
Mm.
but before Nintendo Power, there was another magazine that Nintendo had, like an earlier thin version,
The
right?
Fun Club, yeah, it was a
Yeah,
pamphlet. Yeah.
yeah, I had that. I believe I had that
Oh,
first, and then they went to Nintendo Power
yes.
and went, "Oh, I'm all in for this." And then after about a year, whatever my subscription was, went, "Okay, it's cool," and then that was it. That was done.
Oh,
That,
wow. Wow.
yeah. So you came in right after you took oh you were your fan
I
your
carried the
fan service.
torch. Yeah, I carried
Yeah,
the
you
torch.
carried the torch. Your generation and all that. You guys carried the torch, I guess. So, and I missed out on Dragon Warrior because of that. But I just borrowed from a friend. I still play it
Yeah,
and everything.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, whatever. But
Um,
yeah, great game. But what's funny is it felt like Warrior was made before Final Fantasy. So Final Fantasy, because I played Final Fantasy first. I think in the order it was released in the States was Final Fantasy 1, and then Dragon Warrior came a little bit after that. And I was thinking to myself, well, Final Fantasy seems like it's a better game, like because you have a whole team of people.
mhm.
And Dragon Warrior just one solo dude running around, and it's not, it's not as, it's still fun, but it's not as compelling as the original. Well, with Final Fantasy 1, I guess. I don't know.
Mhm.
I could be wrong on my dates though. So
Let me. I'm checking right now because we have the internet. We live in the future. Um,
yeah. Um, but for whatever reason, I thought I played Final Fantasy 1 first, and so when I played Dragon Warrior, it was kind of a letdown. I was like, this isn't as good as Final Fantasy.
You are correct, actually.
Yeah.
So Final Fantasy came up first in the States,
Yep.
December of 1987,
And I swear,
and
when I was
Dragon
playing Dragon
Quest
Ball, I
was
was like, this.
89.
And I was playing Dragon Ball, I was like, this game felt like a test run to do an RPG. And Final Fantasy was built on top of it, mechanics wise, and it was a better game.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I felt as a kid. I
Well,
know it's kind of
you would
weird.
not be wrong though. In Japan, obviously, Dragon Quest came up before Final Fantasy, but yes, in the States, Final Fantasy beat Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior, whatever, by almost 2 years.
Wow.
So
Yeah,
yes,
that's funny. But with all that said, though, Dragon Warrior is a great game. I mean, I really enjoyed it. I love the fact that you get very, at this point, it's not down to worry about spoilers. The game's been out for
statute of
what?
limitations is up
Yeah,
on
it's
that
over.
one.
But that decision you can make at the end, where you can just say you can just join up with the bad guy, and the whole screen just
Yeah,
goes
no, that's
green or whatever, or red.
love it. I
It's
love the
hilarious.
ending. I love the ending of Dragon Quest. And this is a fun side note. They did a Minecraft-ish game years and years, decades later, called Dragon Quest Builders, which is great, by the way. I really, really love the first one, especially. The second one, I think, got a little bit bloated, and it could have used a games editor, whatever that role is.
Mm.
But it was still fun. But the first one was great. I loved every minute of it. But the premise of Dragon Quest Builders is it's set in an alternate dimension of what happens to the world after the hero agrees to side with the Demon Lord.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's the starting point of the game.
Which game is this? Sorry, I didn't catch the
Dragon
name.
Quest Builders.
Builders.
It's a
Huh.
Minecraft-ish game that's all of the terrain and stuff is voxel based. It's not
That's
an
awesome.
infinitely like a voxel is a 3D pixel,
Hmm.
and it's not infinite world like Minecraft is. Everything is sort of seeded, so no matter what who's playing, all the maps kind of look the same, but there is some randomness in it. But then all the building aspects and crafting and that kind of stuff, that's very similar to Minecraft.
So that's done by just a bunch of fans, or
No, Square Enix did it.
wow,
Yeah, it was quite
that's pretty
good
rad.
too. Yeah, yeah.
Pretty
So,
cool.
but oh wow, we're running over, man.
Yeah.
We're at 32 minutes. Why don't we wrap up here? Let's take a look at what you got. Let's see how
All
we're.
right, yeah, let's wrap up here. I didn't get as far as I'd liked. I pretty much laid out a lot of what I needed to, which was we have his M mouth. We've got his A, like where he starts to say A, then E, and then
Mm-hmm.
and then and then I was getting ready to make the ooh sounds, and that's kind of where I'm at. I was gonna start, as you can see up here, I was molding the mustache a little bit too to kind of do the upper lip part. So by the time I'm done with Mayor, his mustache will be moving along with the rest of his mouth.
Oh,
Getting
that's
going with
pretty
the jaw.
cool. Wow,
But
it's
yeah,
already looking good though.
yeah. So he's coming along, and maybe next week we'll keep adding to it.
Cool. That's a
Or
fun
maybe
little
there'll be
thing. Yeah.
something else to play with. Who knows?
Who knows?
So
Who knows? Very
yeah,
cool. All right.
cool.
Well, we'll end it there. And thanks everybody for tuning in. And we'll see you the same time, same YouTube channel. You can always find us at calamityjane.rocks on the internet. It'll take you to our Patreon page. You can also find us on Facebook and YouTube. Presumably this is how you're watching us right now. Otherwise, stay safe out there, and we'll see you next week. Night, everybody.
Good night.